This show is brought to you in part by viewers like you who joined a Patreon or become YouTube members. Thank you. And if you could, hit the like button and subscribe if you want more Browns-focused content. Maybe I'm a hater. Maybe that's it. But to me, when your team is in the mode that the Browns are in, there is nothing satisfying left to accomplish but one thing. And that is for opportunities like the Cleveland Browns have ahead of themselves this Sunday. See, the Bengals come into this game with 8 losses. If they win out, depending on what happens on Thursday Night Football, right? Like if the Broncos are able to beat the Chargers, then that changes things for the Bengals going forward. But let's say, because I'm recording this while the Thursday night game is happening, that the Chargers win and they're favored. Even if the Chargers don't win, kind of the same stuff applies, which is Bengals are at 8 losses and they need to win out to have a realistic chance of making the playoffs, which means every game for the Bengals is a playoff game. They play the Browns. They play the Broncos after this. The Broncos will be having a 10-day break. And they play the Pittsburgh Steelers. And they need to win all 3. Now, that Pittsburgh game, depending on what happens this weekend, could be a game that matters a lot for Pittsburgh. Could be a game that matters absolutely none for Pittsburgh. Because Pittsburgh could win this weekend, beat the Baltimore Ravens, and pretty much have the division locked up. Like that would be the straw that breaks the camel's back for the Ravens' Ravens' realistic odds to win the division. There's still a way they could do it, but they would have to rely on shenanigans, right? So for the Bengals, this game is probably the game they're looking at, knowing their history with Cleveland, knowing that they have had some questionable performances against the Cleveland Browns, even when they were better teams than what they are right now. They're looking at this one like, hey, we can't drop this one. We can't mess around with this one. And on the Browns' perspective of things, I brought it up, right? If you're watching Hard Knocks, it's pretty obvious that the one thing Kevin's been able to do that I think is pretty positive at this point in the season is that these guys are still motivated to play every week. The Browns were eliminated from playoff competition before the game started against the Kansas City Chiefs, well before the game kicked off, like during the week they knew. And they still came out there, played really hard versus Kansas City. I think that's a good thing. But if you want to solidify, if you're Kevin, the case for your continued employment, and part of that case is that you bring a culture, that you bring something to the table, even in the worst seasons that we did not have before. And there's some evidence there, right? I do think the team's playing really hard at the end of this season, and I do appreciate that. But if there is something there, you would like to have a result there with it too. And a result like knocking the Bengals out the playoffs would be pretty damn sweet. Now, I'm not saying Kevin's job hinges on whether he wins this game in Cincinnati or not. I'm just saying if he won this game in Cincinnati, ended the Bengals season, all right, man, he could lose them last 2. I don't care. I'm going to be real with you. As far as Kevin's job goes, I'll be fine with him coming back. Because this would be a pretty impressive win, especially given where you're at. It would be something to remember this season by. So many Brown seasons have gone by without memorable wins. This season would have the snow game, and then if you have another game like when you destroyed the Bengals season, it wouldn't be like, oh man, that season was great or anything like that. I'm not trying to make you think that, but what I am saying is that it'll give you a couple moments here, right? And right now, the Browns are in the moments business. They're not in the win games business. So when you can't win a bunch of games, you want to have some fun moments. This would be a fun moment, right? It's what made Jameis kind of worth it for a little while because he was giving you some fun moments, right? 500 yards on Monday Night Football, the snow game, the press conferences afterwards. We were getting some fun moments from Jameis Winston. But now that Jameis ain't out there, okay, this is the way you can get a fun moment. You can ruin the Bengals season. Because this is going to be a really hard thing to do. The Bengals are coming in here offensively playing as good as they've played. If you're the Browns, a lot of what you're planning for, right? We know that the Browns next year are probably not going to have amazing quarterback play. The options are just mediocre, right? And that means that you're going to have to accept that your play at quarterback is going to be what it is. But that doesn't mean that your season has to stink. A lot of teams right now winning games with mediocre quarterback play. And the way you can win games with mediocre quarterback play is by having an elite defense. And I want to be somebody who feels like this defense can be elite again. Right now, I'm not convinced. What would go a long way in convincing me is a great performance versus a Bengals offense that was rolling coming into this game versus a Bengals offense that has the best wide receiver in football and one of the better quarterbacks in football in Joe Burrow. You're able to do your thing against them. You're able to slow that offensive attack down in a game that's essentially a playoff game for the Bengals. Then that's something there, right? For me, if I'm the Browns, if I'm Kevin Stefanski, if I'm in that building, I think you got to approach this game like it's a playoff game because that's how the Bengals are approaching it. They're coming into this game playing it like a playoff game. So you know what? We can't make the playoffs. There is no incentive for us to win this game except for to ruin your season. So make that your playoff, right? This is the biggest, this is your Super Bowl game that you could get, right? Ruin their season. They're going to play hard as hell in this one. They're going to be super motivated for this one. They're going to want to destroy the Browns. And also, this will be the first time that they could sweep the Browns since the Browns went 0-16. The Browns have had a heavy hand in this Bengals-Browns rivalry for a little while now. The Browns have had the lead in it. It's been the one rivalry we have had the edge in over the last 4 years. Every other rivalry has been 50-50. We've split with the Steelers consistently. We split with the Ravens consistently. We've split with everybody but Cincinnati. Cincinnati, we have been able to beat sometimes even twice a year. Most of the victories that Cincinnati has in Kevin Stefanski's run have been against teams that did not play their starting quarterback. Right, Baker Mayfield sat out that last game against Cincinnati, and then also the Browns pulled their starters last year against Cincinnati. Those are 2 games that the Bengals won. The Bengals have won more games against the Browns, but a good amount of those games, even the ones they won, were in circumstances where the Browns really weren't trying to win it. So let's go and get this one. It'll piss off Bengal fans. That's good for me. I like that. I like that it piss off Bengal fans. It will ruin your rival's season, which should be good, right? Like, if the Browns ain't going to be in the playoffs, I'm not trying to hear about the Bengals on no miracle run. No, we could kill that shit right now, right? Like, think about it like this. What if the Bengals do win out and they make a miracle little playoff run and you got to hear about Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals and how they're the best football team in Ohio and all that garbage all offseason? You trying to hear that? I'm not. You can kill that right now. You can kill it right now. I want this game, right? There's not very many games. I don't really think I'm going to have that much of an emotional reaction if the Browns win or lose to the Miami Dolphins. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't think I'm going to have that big of an emotional reaction at the result at the last game of the season. If the Ravens play their starters, if they don't, I don't know. I'm not going to feel any type of way about that one. But this one I do want. This one I want the Browns to show up. This one I want the Browns to play well for. Maybe I'm setting myself up for disappointment. And that might be all fair and good, and maybe that's just a game. But I want this one. I want the Browns to be able to win this one. For those of you worried about draft position ramifications, look, the Browns are guaranteed to get a top 10 pick no matter how the season ends out. Like, they're going to be in the top 10. There's so many 3-loss teams that, you know, even if the Browns lose out, I think they get like the 2nd or 3rd pick. Like, they don't have good odds to get the number 1 overall pick. This isn't a draft where you really want the number 1 overall pick because there's no number 1 overall guy, in my opinion, in this draft class. And again, maybe I'm just a hater, right? I'm willing to sacrifice a draft slot or 2 just to ruin the Bengals season. Like I'm cool with it. I'm absolutely fine with it, right? Because there are more than 10 players in the top 10 that I would be willing to take. And especially if teams go 2 quarterbacks in the top 10, that's even better for me, right? Because I don't have those 2 quarterbacks as the guys I would want to take in the top 10. So that, to me, is my motivation for watching this game. And this is the last game on the schedule that I think I can really get excited about winning. Not because of what it says for the future, even though if you do a good job defensively, it makes me think, hey, man, you add Mason Graham, you add Abdul Carter to this defensive line, you add a top 10 defensive lineman to this defensive line, all of a sudden, we cooking with gas. Like, I would be excited about that. And we could have an elite defense, and who knows what's going to go on with the quarterback position. But, hey, if you put a quarterback around a great defense, you have a chance to win game. I'm watching Denver play football right now. Bo Nix is not good. I'm watching Bo Nix right now. He's not amazing. If he were in Cleveland, we'd be arguing about if he's good or not. But we also have a good record because our defense if our defense was playing at the same level that the Broncos defense has. That is what's most important to me. I want to see this defense show up, stand up, and make the most out of this opportunity and show the world who they are. And you show the world who you are if you're the Browns defense by coming out here and ruining the Bengals season. And yeah, will Bengal fans call it our Super Bowl? Yeah. Will they be kind of right? Yeah. I'm kind of treating this like my late season end of the year Super Bowl. It's the biggest game for the Browns at the end of this season. And it's not where I want it to be for sure. I want it to be a better than 4-win team for sure. But hey, this is where you are. And I'm fine with this being a highlight, given that the alternative is losing out. So, yeah, I would love to see the Bengals season be ruined in Cleveland. Well, not in Cleveland, in Cincinnati, by the Cleveland Browns. I would love to see Myles Garrett get 4 sacks against the Bengals. I would love to find out that we're the reason the Bengals got eliminated from the playoffs. Would absolutely revel in that fact. So, yeah, I want this one. Do you want this win? Let me know in the comment section down below. Are you indifferent about this game, or are you invested because you have that opportunity to take the Bengals out, right? And maybe at the end of the season, if you had that same opportunity to take the Ravens out, yeah, let's do it. Like, I'm the biggest hater this year for the rest of the AFC North. If the Browns get the chance to ruin somebody's season, I know I'm going to be in the top 10 regardless. So, like, draft position is locked in, basically. We're going to be 7-10 probably. And if that's the case, all right, let's ruin some seasons. Ain't no problem with that. Ain't no problem with that. I got no problem with that. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Y'all have a great day. Have a better night. Peace.